Welcome. In the blue, we've got Daniel here. This is the opening round in Platinum League, Group D. We've got Daniel, the American. Many people think that he will do big things in this group, possibly a group of uncertainty for the very top players. And then others seem to think that maybe he'll be in the relegation zone. We'll see. Daniel's gone for the Incas here. And then we've got Hearttt, who's playing as the Gurjaras. A Civ we saw earlier today, but a Civ that could have similar problems. I mentioned earlier that against Byzantines, I didn't think the Gurjaras would actually have the best units. And I do wonder now, Daniel picking Incas here. It feels like maybe Spear Skirm for him as a potential game plan. Now you've got the rocky terrain in the middle. So it affects where you can build things, which could just influence how good your wood income is. Maybe an extra reason to pick the Gurjaras, because you don't actually need to build the lumber camp right away as part of your build anyways. So I don't know if players factor that into their build here at all. But eventually expect a lot of fighting through the middle here. And should be a fun one here between these two. I think Heartt's the favorite. Hearttt is in the top 10 in the world right now, in my opinion. He's crept into that over the last year. He's been very consistent, making a lot of LAN events. And Daniel, I'm not really sure where I would put him. But I would probably put Daniel maybe around the 20 mark. And if that's the case, because this is Platinum League and it's the top 24 players in the world, maybe on paper, Daniel is a player who would be in relegation threat in this group. But I think in this group, Viper and Hearttt are clearly the top two. A lot of other players are going to try and change my thinking on that. Yeah, sorry, I was just focusing on my intro. I felt like that was maybe slightly more important than adding the logo, but I'll fix the logo here too. Thanks for the reminder. And it's a play all three, 40 bucks per win. It's going to be really important for players to get some wins on the board here so they're not under pressure coming into the second and third round. But yeah, I really do feel as though... I think the way we'll see the Gurjara player play this is probably into scouts. But the Spear Skirm build could kind of be awkward to deal with. I think that's probably Daniel's plan. I was not expecting Incas here. But Spear Skirmisher, they're cheaper for the Incas. Incas also get more pop space from the houses. They start with the free llama. And then maybe Spear Skirm into Eagles is the long-term plan here for Daniel. But Hearttt doesn't really like to play with this type of civilization. Heartt's more of a mobility, stable archer range type player. So I don't think he was expecting the Incas. This is the first time I've seen Incas, even in all of Gold League, played out. We'll see if he has the answer to it. Typically, though, what Hearttt would do is he'll want Scout, Skirm, and Feudal H, and then just really smooth micro. The Skirms will take out any spears, and then the Scouts will kill the rest. And that's kind of what Slam tried when we saw this. Someone says, is this not Platinum? This is Platinum. Are you guys bothered by the logo? Are we arguing that that's not Platinum and that that's more some other color right now? Is that what chat's doing? That's the Platinum logo. That's the main logo, okay? Also, there's 4 swords behind the dude to indicate it's the 4th season. Now, I guess if we get to, like, season 8, that's going to be a lot of swords. We might need to come up with another method for the logo, but I really like the logo. But we've got the silver logo. Obviously, silver's beyond us now. We have the gold logo, and that's the main logo. This is Plat. But you can call it the Cobalt League, or you can call it whatever color you can come up with, just to annoy me. But yeah, we should be in a good spot. All right. Palmat, thanks for gifting Gaffle Spoon. Look at this. Palmat's a new sub, and he's gifted someone who's been a mod here for like 8 years a sub. Wow, really sucking up to new guys. Really sucking up to the old mods here, huh? Thank you, Palmat. I love Nuggets. Thank you for the 9 months. Mectis, thank you for the new Prime. All the new Primes today. Thank you. So Daniel hasn't moved out with his Eagle because he's concerned about the fast feudal from his opponent. So it may feel like kind of a passive opening, but He just doesn't want this to be sniped. And now he knows the Camel Scout is at his base, so he's able to move forward. And Hearttt going up very quickly here. And Hearttt will... he actually went up with that Loom. He'll snag that. And now there's the stable for him. Again, the game plan here is to kind of smother the opponent. Just make a lot of units. And it's so easy to do so with the Incas because look how much pop space he has with just 3 houses. Like other civs, you'd need to... You've spent so much more wood on the houses. And then when the games get messy, you get pop capped. So I really like this strategy from Daniel. I don't know if it's going to work, but I think it's a good choice. Remember, you can't wall on the stone. So pressure could still come in. And yeah, Daniel's Eagle in the end kind of getting boinked anyways. I think the best move for Daniel would have been just to attack there to get some damage, but kind of to be expected that faster scout's going to be a problem. So yeah, I think, like, you could just move forward with this first group and just leave the one spear at home. And now Hearttt has to think about how he could manage those spears. The most natural thing for him is likely to be his own range and to go into a a couple skirmishers of his own. But the KD doesn't have to be pretty. You can almost treat this like Byzantines or Goths even when you're playing Incas this way. You can lose quite a few units and still be pretty competitive with things. Having said that, Daniel still only has 1 spearman here. So, Hearttt, he'll do his best here to get some damage done. Daniel pulls the spears into the wood line. We'll produce another spear now. Now Daniel just parking that army there to be annoying and harass Hearttt. That spear's weak, but now Daniel pops out, and now he has 2 spears, and now Hearttt can't really do damage there. The walls are up here from Daniel. Funnily enough, he does get housed at 35 pop, so he does get housed, even though he's got the bonuses to maybe avoid that. But this is super micro-intensive right now. Daniel still hasn't really accomplished too much here on Heartt's woodline. Now, Hearttt hasn't accomplished too much on Daniel's woodline. The thing about, like, Hearttt, I don't think he really struggles against this type of style. Like, you could tell when a player's confident against it because they don't move their vills at all. They'll just fight you back with vills if they have to, and then they're just... It looks so comfortable. Heartt's got a very similar style to Hera. And I think they're both, like, any of these plays, like any drushes or spear skirm plays that are just meant to slowly harass vills, like, they don't really give it too much power. Meaning they're just able to ignore it pretty nicely. Now, this you can't ignore, though. Like, this army becomes a massive problem. But Daniel also still has to deal with this. He's really underproduced spears at home this game so far. And this should lead to dead vills here. Hearttt gets immediately around 1 villager. And now Daniel has to get some good damage in. Now here he comes. And Hearttt is waiting in the opening with his own skirmishers. It's just 5 skirms for Daniel, and it'll be 6 skirms for Hearttt. This should be pretty good for Hearttt. Daniel has to be careful not to over-forage. That's pretty close. And then he sees the skirm numbers. I think already in Daniel's mind, he's probably like, I'm not going to do too much more in Feudal Age. I need Eagles now. So we might see him shift onto some gold. Especially with all of these vills finishing that tree, I think a mining camp could make sense. Hearttt Scout's moving away. Daniel bringing another group of skirms forward now. Crazy. Now, Heartt's actually sending his scouts home. So he only killed 1 vill. You could tell he's kind of indecisive on where he wants to go now, but he's going to head home. And so it's 12 skirms for Daniel. They're not all here, but he has fletching and he has more skirmishers. This, in theory, should be the time for him to apply some pressure. And at this point, villagers are going to start to go down pretty quickly. Nice start here for Daniel with the engagement. Kills the skirm, weakens the skirm. Remember, he is fletching. Hearttt does not. And then a market from Daniel, and then he will head to gold. His eco is pretty inefficient, though. And Heartt's eco is going to end up being in the better spot with food and wood. But Daniel wants that Castle Age. This is a great build. Like, again, I don't know if it'll work, but it just makes so much sense. Because your opponent will play into heavy skirms, heavy feudal age, heavy scouts. And then you have eagles, which can change the game in Castle Age. A lot of scouts here from Hearttt, though. And Daniel has to back away. He's even getting armor for his spearman now. And nice shot from Hearttt to just hold on there. Didn't end up losing a Vil. Didn't even reposition his eco much. Second mill on berries now is very nice and kind of a feature of the map. It's been interesting how little people have actually taken the middle. Players just don't want to take the risk at all. A lot of spears and skirms right now. I don't know, like, this could go either way depending on micro. I don't think Hearttt has the numbers in the HP, though. Daniel's micro is really good right now. Daniel doesn't seem to be too worried. Like, he's getting in close to these skirms. Resources are actually looking a little bit better for Hearttt to head to Castle Age. The game could honestly not be closer right now. This is so close. On one hand, Hearttt might click Castle Age faster, but on the other hand, his army might get very little value. And obviously, on the other hand, you also have the fact that Daniel can produce eagles right now. But when a player's faster to Castle Age, there's a lot of advantages to that. In upgrades, in TCs. So I don't think Hearttt will complain about that at all. And Daniel could probably use the market to balance out his resources to be in a better position there as well. And wow, that's actually a really interesting decision from Hearttt. I like this decision. Because now Daniel has to think about what he does. He can't actually pressure with all of his army now because he needs to defend his Vils. Ooh, but he's chopped some of this. Oh, but he couldn't get the quick walls down. So Hearttt just separates his scouts from the skirms. Daniel's a little confused. And this is an amazing moment here for Hearttt. He kills the Vils, but now this army isn't advancing forward. If Daniel would have advanced forward with all that, maybe Hearttt could have had some problems. Forging is in for Hearttt now. He'll snipe another Vil. He'll get another Vil after that. 5 villager kills from Hearttt. Beautiful. Still could be really dangerous, though. This army from Daniel that he's working towards. Hearttt is some weak scouts here. He'll lose most of them, but still enough with forging to get some kills. And now Daniel's on the way to Castle Age. So, what units does Hearttt make here? He's going double range skirms. So, obviously, he'll still upgrade the skirms. He just killed another villager. You can make knights. So, I guess Shrivamsha? Camel doesn't make a lot of sense because your opponent doesn't have any units on a horse. Like, Camel's the worst possible choice. Hearttt skirm mass is enough to hold the front. A nice shot there from Daniel. And Daniel probably needs to do a similar thing to what Hearttt just did. Just kind of back away. Fall back to your base. Regroup your units a little bit. But this is why I really like this civ choice from Daniel. Now, Hearttt has outperformed him so far. But I think it's a great composition he's about to have. As long as he keeps his units alive, if he gets onto eagles here, Hearttt doesn't have a great answer. Shrivamsha shouldn't do all that well. But it's the timing right now from Hearttt. Elite Skirm's on the way. He doesn't have Bodkin yet, actually, but now Elite Skirm's in. Elite Skirm can help against the skirms and the spears. Hearttt gets to the other side now. Hearttt kind of traps these skirmishers from Daniel and traps the villager. That's villager number 7. But now Daniel gets Castle Age. So now the Eagles have the extra armor. The Vils also get the infantry armor as well, which is a nice little bonus to have. And Heartt's just microing every single spear down that he can see. And Daniel's eco is really not great at the moment. But it might be good enough. Heartt's still on 1 TC. All these skirms could go down. More Shrivamshas need to head forward. There's TC number 2. I think Hearttt will send those Vils directly to stone. I think he foresees the fact that he's going to need to be on stone for chakrams. And quick walls are needed from Daniel. They have to be really quick walls against the Shrivamshas. And Heartt is through again. So he'll kill villager number 9 now. And Shrivamshas are everywhere. Eagles go down. Come on, another Vill almost gets picked. But look at Daniel's economy, guys. Vills are chasing. Very few farmers working. Heartt's eco is so much more efficient. Worker efficiency last minute, 45% for Daniel and 73% for Heartt. It feels like we might get to that point where the Shrivamshas don't do all that well against the Eagles. But when we get to that point, Heartt's economy is going to be so much stronger. These are still Eagle scouts. They're not even Eagle warriors yet. So he's still missing a pretty big upgrade there. The Shrivamshas seem to be doing pretty good against this too. And from a cost perspective, they don't cost as much gold. And then you can also just you can out-micro the Eagles as well. So if you're a player like Heartt who has this much mobility, you can really utilize it. Idle TC's been pretty high for both. And still no stone income for Heartt. Surprising. Maybe that will change. Looks like it's just changed a little bit. 43 kills for Heartt. 9 of them were villagers. Eagle numbers still rising, though, for Daniel. I feel for Daniel right now because you have to respect these Shrivamshas, but you also need to counterattack. And he's waiting for a point in the game where he could justify leaving his base, but will that point ever happen when you can't fully wall? It's so annoying, like... Heartt's doing an amazing job at staying active with these things. And they do have the armor, these Vills, so it's a bit harder for Heartt to get the snipes. And now there's just a skirm counterattack here. That won't accomplish much. Also don't know if 5 Eagles will accomplish much. Heartt is just in dreamland right now. This is what macro and micro he has. Eco upgrades are on point. Farm count's ridiculous. It's 30 on food for him, and he's 300 stone away from the castle. I think Daniel's got one more chance. And that is with these 22 Eagles. They need to go forward, and they need to be in Heartt's base. At this point, you hope that a couple monks can maybe defend. And this army just destroys Heartt. There's actually a crazy chance it works. I haven't seen Shrivamsha against Eagle Warrior enough in Castle Age to really know. So far, the Shrivamshas look good. I think if these Eagles just go to Heartt's base, what if you even get Arson? Can you just take out TCs? I think Daniel needs to panic castle right now, or Heartt does. Heartt cannot find out how good or bad this really is. That castle's got to go up. Daniel has some defending to do. He did convert 2 units there, and there are the Eagles. There's the castle. I think you have to stop the castle if you're Daniel. You just have to. You have no choice. Heartt's going to be in an absolute panic right now. He can't fit everything he needs to inside the TC, so he'll take losses there. He needs quick walls here so he can complete the castle. Okay, so those 3 villagers will at least continue to build the castle. But, oh my god! Daniel gets trapped! Daniel gets trapped with 10 Eagles. And the only way he was going to win this game is if the Eagles got... Oh! Heartt played himself. Heartt actually trapped himself here. Now the villagers he thought were safe are not building the castle. What the... Well, I don't know who benefited from that. I'm going to say Heartt still benefits from that. Heartt will get the castle up. The Eagles are still kind of trapped. And the Eagles will die. And so it wasn't exactly as Heartt envisioned with the trap. But he still has the Vill lead. He's making chakrams now. And he still has a whole bunch of Shrivamshas as well. Man, this unit's actually very solid against the Eagles. I think the bigger thing, though, is just the economy. And Daniel has to delete those Eagles so they don't get converted. That's rough. Heartt doesn't have the eco lead he had before, but he still has a really nice setup. And now he has an even better unit to fight with. And he could shift this to just fighting through the middle with those chakrams. Daniel will go to 3 TCs. Maybe this game continues on a little bit. Daniel killed, what, 10 villagers with that Eagle raid? And that's what I think, like, imagine if Hearttt didn't have as big a lead. I think this is a really problematic matchup for him. So, it was good, obviously, that he got the damage in that he wanted. Daniel's TC up is in the middle. Hearttt does not see that. And the Shrivamshas will spot the slingers. Yeah, Incas do have that, which could work against the Chakrams. The Hearttt will dive. Man, this unit is abnormally fast. Like, it's crazy how fast that is. On a map where you can't full wall, this unit is a nightmare to deal with. It just gives Hearttt time to mass the Chakrams, drop the TCs. A lot of these Shrivamshas are a little bit weak, and the Eagles are fully armored, so maybe the Eagles can defend now. And there are the Frisbees. So this unit does pass-through damage and has bonus damage against infantry. So, it's very solid against Eagles. All right, it's got... Actually, it doesn't have bonus damage against infantry. It has bonus damage against Eagle, but it's only +1. Yeah, I thought there was bonus damage against infantry. Am I crazy? It doesn't say there is there, but... Basically, they're great against infantry. Another castle from Hearttt. You could tell this is getting rather uncomfortable for him right now. And villagers are getting sniped by those Eagles, so some nice snipes there from Daniel. But the Frisbees are starting to destroy, and that's still going to be a big long-term issue here for Daniel. Yeah, I think maybe the elite upgrades gives you additional bonus damage against infantry. But the thing is they do their damage to every unit. Like, you're doing 4 damage, or 5 damage, whatever it is, to every unit that shot hits. So it's really broken if you have a lot of shots, and if your opponent has a lot of units. So, basically, it scales insanely well into the game. And it feels like this will be a long game, because right now, Heartt's got 2 defensive castles set up perfectly. The only thing that Hearttt doesn't really have is the middle. And he might run out of gold in this game. I like the Slinger edition from Daniel as well. And he's just leaving random Eagles around his base to defend, because he knows those Shrivamshas are going to be back. Shrivamshas run in. They snipe. And they'll just get away. Red-handed. It's so crazy what this unit can do. Look at Daniel's gold income right now. That's a problem. Look at this. Daniel's still advancing forward into Heartt's base, so that's what he's looking at. About 30 villagers killed this game. Daniel does not want this gold, I guess, because it's so raidable. The Slinger will have 7 range, and the Chakrams have 5 range. So there is a range difference, but there's also a mobility difference. Daniel really utilizing the monks right now. I wonder if Hearttt will consider going light cav here. Because the monks are a pretty big factor defensively for Daniel and offensively. Like right here, I don't know about that, Hearttt. Is that worth it? Oh, the monks don't have sanctity. It's super worth it. And the final 2 were lined up perfectly. That was really well played. I think with sanctity, Daniel maybe gets a couple more conversions there. But now he loses the monks. He can't heal up. That's 500 gold down the drain. The slingers get slung. Well, that's not really accurate, but you know what I mean. But still, we have a game. Hearttt just got devotion. So he'll resist conversion now. But almost feels like that tech isn't hugely necessary considering the situation, right? I just don't think that slingers are... I don't know if slingers are going to accomplish a lot here. I think it's going to be tough for Daniel. Daniel can't counter raid because there's a castle everywhere he goes. So he'll always be reacting. And Hearttt can just like... Heartt's units are faster, so he can just wait to take any engagement that's good. He doesn't... There's nothing forcing Heartt's hands now. There's no forcing of mistakes. And sure, yeah, slingers have a bit more range and a bonus damage against infantry, but they don't do damage to the whole group. One guy's got a frisbee of death. The other guy's slinging little pebbles. I'm going with the frisbee of death, but actually the pebbles are kind of owning. I think Hearttt wins this game through the outside more than he does the middle, though. This area is huge. And Daniel will castle the middle, understandably. But he's still so exposed down here. And here comes Hearttt. Hearttt will see that castle. Hearttt wants to deny that castle. Daniel quick walls. And I ran out of resources there to get the quick walls. And then he also has to pay such close attention here. One volley from those chakram throwers and the slingers just get deleted. Daniel clicks in. But he won't have a castle. Hearttt will have 3 castles. And Hearttt has just had a really clean game. He'll say it was messy. And it did get messy at that one stage early castle age. But, like, before that, and immediately after he got his castle up, this game has been all Hearttt, man. He also snagged the unique tech. So all of his units that he's making are cheaper now. And I find it hard to believe that Daniel has any faith now. The Frisbees are owning. The unit's completely busted, man. It's so good. And Daniel calls the GG. He was never going to get that castle up. And well played there from Hearttt. Honestly, I thought that was a really solid game. I thought with how feudal age went, that Hearttt was going to win this game much earlier. I could see now why Daniel chose the Incas here. It didn't work. But I fully understand the choice because it did get to a point where it was extremely awkward. But Hearttt did such a good job with the Shirvamshas. He also did a great job in feudal age to stop the trash from snowballing out of control. And it isn't really that typical for Heartt's playstyle, but that second TC was directly on stone with the intent to mine stone quickly. If he didn't do that, I think he loses. He lost like 10 to 15 vills to that eagle raid when he was building the castle. Like, he didn't have a castle on the way up. All of his TCs are idled by eagles. So it definitely hit that point that Daniel wanted as the Incas. But it was maybe just a little bit too late. Hearttt had the better eco the whole game. But yeah, a good showing there from both, I think. Both players seemingly warmed up. And well played to Hearttt, as expected maybe for some, getting the win. I'll see what Daniel has in store for us game 2. Here we are, game 2. So catching up to live time a little bit. Important to note if you watch the earlier evacuation games that the starting area is actually more towards the south here. So the orientation is flipped. The premise of this map, pretty obvious. You need to eventually evacuate and get to the area with more resources. But look at the start here from Daniel. Daniel actually, it's fine, he'll get this. Daniel actually walks out and he is going to bring in that boar with a villager. I just want to double check Heartt's situation. Heartt's scout is just scouting the other areas of the map to find some cows instead. So Celts have the wood chopping bonus. That could be huge here because you can typically see lots of navy, lots of archers, right? And just, I think it's an underrated eco bonus in general. But the other thing is their fast man-at-arms can be so valuable here. You force quick walls here, great. He defends himself, boom, you hit the gold. Then he quick walls here, and then it's like, okay, well, he quick walls there, then you go here, poof, then you hit the wood. There's like so many different areas to hit with man-at-arms. So I would actually really like to see man-at-arms here from Daniel. And he's certainly going to have the food for that, right? Because he will have 2 rhinos and a boar. Plus he's pushing in the deer, plus he has the other food there. Plus he'll probably fish as well. So I think you should be able to have a build down where you can go man-at-arms off a dock build. And the other exciting thing about this is Celts eat TC, right? They have the faster attacking siege. It's super good against eating TCs in a normal map. Buildings on this cracked terrain take 50% more damage. So you eat TC so much faster, dude. So you could go Huang style and maybe even go fast castle and it might work. Because the TC from Hearttt probably just won't stay up. So, I don't know. There's possibilities. I don't think Daniel will go Huang style. I think he'll go man-at-arms and adapt. Because I think Celts could be really good here. And then eventually probably try and boom on the outside. Yeah, terrain doesn't affect the HP on things, but terrain can affect how much damage something takes. But really, cracked terrain is the only type of terrain that you have to factor that in with. So, I can't think of another type of terrain that affects how much damage is received. Also, we've talked about this so many times. I always forget if it's 50% or 30% or 33% or 25%. It feels like 50%, but that might actually be wrong. Sorry for getting the specifics wrong. It's in terms of practical application, it does really affect how you can judge some certain situations. So just something to keep in mind. So Daniel's up. And he's building this barracks with 3 vills, so this is definitely for man-at-arms. Hearttt will see that, and he also saw the barracks being rushed up at this time. So now Hearttt has the fun task of trying to protect every single resource from these man-at-arms. He did bring in a lot of cows, though, so he's got what could be 4 cows coming in. So a palisade wall is 3 wood, and you would need maybe like 10 to 12 of them here. You would need maybe like 5 to 8 of them here, maybe like 4 or 5 of them here. Then you need an archer range, then you need ships. Like, it is cheaper for you to build things with the Malians, but it's still a lot of wood. And then you're going to over chop your wood line. It's just, it's so annoying. So I like the decision from Daniel. I think it's a really good decision. Also, this is Heartt's home map. So game 3 will be on Daniel's home map. Daniel opens with man-at-arms. Heartt's tracking this. Hearttt will go for archers. Hearttt has not pre-walled any of this yet. Obviously, he knows what he's up against. So he knows where he needs to protect first. Now, Daniel didn't actually go over... maybe he did. He saw that chopped tree, actually. So he could immediately switch the focus there. Well, Hearttt, check your trees. Don't over chop. You don't have a whole lot remaining. I think there might actually be a hole. Now, is this palisade wall not on crack terrain? Because there was a tree there? That's actually a crazy thing I didn't think about. I can't tell. I think it is on cracked terrain, but the palisade wall might actually be on terrain that's not cracked. And Daniel made a fire galley defensively. We'll send it forward now. Heartt's just now making one defensively. Hearttt has more fish, and now Hearttt goes for all these walls. So really well played so far from Hearttt. This could be really dangerous against the Celts. But he's tracked it well. He's predicted it. And Daniel will have the archer follow-up, though. And what these man-at-arms do is they can always come back. They can always pose a threat, and you always have to respect that. So Hearttt might be paying a little bit extra attention to this and not be able to track any archers that might come forward from Daniel. Here comes Daniel with the archers now. Now also, what the man-at-arms do, I think a lot of the times I've seen players like Hearttt play on this map, they like to wall to the shoreline. But you can't do that with the threat of man-at-arms. Daniel also spots that vill. Like, certain vills are trying to evacuate. They're trying to get out of here. Ooh, fletching is in for Daniel. And they find each other in the middle here. That ends up being pretty good for Daniel. He should be able to stabilize with... That's a good engagement for Hearttt, actually. Hearttt doesn't have fletching yet. Heartt's still so frustrated over here because of all this. Daniel's able to take the hunt. Daniel's out there already. And Daniel should be able to deal with this. But if those archers head over to that mill, that could be a problem. Like, the fact that Daniel isn't chasing that down right now is a pretty big deal. I'm actually a little surprised. Seems like he's almost waiting to see... Yeah, look. He's dropping a tower here because he thinks that's where the archers are going. They're not going that way, though. Micro's still so intense here. And now Daniel's actually being hit on the gold. The tower's a little awkward for Daniel. That could still help you later on. Nice quick wall from Daniel to save the villain. And now he can actually track these archers. So that's actually pretty good for him. Oh, and Hearttt overchopped. Hearttt overchopped. The man-at-arms are through. And so it finally happens. And now Hearttt still has to micro his heart out over here. How in the world is he doing that? That's crazy that he still hasn't lost a villager yet. That's crazy. And he still hasn't lost an archer. That's insane, dude. That's absolutely insane. Usually, like most humans, they lose vills and they save the archers. or they lose the archers and they save the vills. The fact that he's been able to do all that's ridiculous. Also, Daniel has wood problems right now. He's got to go over there to take those trees, something he hasn't done yet. And that's a long walk for wood. So his eco is not as good as it could be. And still the army lurking from Daniel. Still Daniel hoping to get some value. There's still water to focus on, where I think Hearttt will win. Heartt's produced a lot more fires. I think he forgot about it, honestly. He was respecting that Daniel would come in with something, and Daniel never did. And here Hearttt loses his archers. And most of the man-at-arms have also gone down for Daniel. Now, what Daniel does have a lot of right now, though, is momentum. So, Hearttt... Oh! Vil snipe. Nice snipe there. Like, Hearttt doesn't know where the army is going from Daniel next. So, Hearttt, for that reason, towers here. Which is a good call. Now, if Daniel had that information... Okay, he does have the information. So, he saw the tower. Now he will come this way. And Heartt's not expecting it, and Heartt's getting jumped on by the archers. Good micro from Daniel. He just keeps sending in the pressure here. There's some weak units there, actually, building those houses. Hearttt will eventually kill the fish. He still hasn't killed the fishing ship, but you'd imagine he will. And Daniel now running through this way. And now Daniel's going for the market. So Heartt's ahead. Like, Heartt's res collected is ahead. Heartt's got a bit more army on the field, but it's not land army. A lot of that's navy, and he hasn't benefited from the fish boom yet. Hearttt just pulls off the berries now, and Daniel shoots down the deer. The skirms are here from Hearttt, so he might put an end to this attack now. Daniel, you can tell, is a little distracted, but he's got another archer army coming in on this side. And Hearttt just doesn't have the army to keep up with this. Daniel's going to click right beyond them, and then you attack. That's the smart play. He also saw that was a weak Vil. That's crazy from Daniel. That's crazy. 2 Vil kills. He's blocking as well. Like, this is what people get excited about when they're rooting for Daniel, is those moments right there. Also still has that small army alive. It just comes back to the fact that Hearttt hasn't had control of the game. He's been reactive because of the man-at-arms. And after the tower was placed here, Daniel knew that this would be exposed. But Daniel still doesn't have a fish boom. Hearttt will have the fish boom. Heartt's economy should be much better here. And Hearttt will complete his market. He'll probably click up. So Hearttt 2.5 minutes away from the next stage. And then Daniel 2.5 minutes away from the next stage. Interesting. So this is semi-protected with the tower. This is pretty well protected with the tower. It feels like if Daniel wins this game, it's going to be about the middle. But middle into what? Like, does he add a stable? Does he go for a couple knights? Daniel also can't pass here. Like, him sending more units over to defend this area or escape isn't doable if the fire ships are there. So this kind of cuts off Daniel's potential options. Heartt's pretty heavy on stone. So I think Heartt's plan is pretty clearly defensive castle. Because he's worried about a siege push. It's the perfect play from Hearttt. He's playing so good. Like, Heartt's always had the skills, but to have the map understanding and be able to do that when you're under intense pressure is something he lacked for a while. But 2024 is just, it was so good for him, and this is amazing. Like, just not something I think about. Like, the previous game, Hearttt had to rely falling back into an early castle and a unique unit. He wouldn't do that in the past. Now it's the same. He has to fall back into a unique unit and a castle. Great recognition, in my opinion. And he does still have an army out here slowly harassing. Daniel adding a scout now. And you could tell Daniel wants that map control so he can attempt that siege push, right? He might actually be able to just go crossbow. Like, maybe crossbow and boom. Maybe it's not a siege push. Second TC over here. Cav archers? Guys, what is happening, bro? We saw Malay Cav Archers earlier today. Now we're seeing Celt Cav Archers. Listen, I understand that Cav Archers can be very strong with a number of civilizations on Arabia. I cannot be convinced that this isn't just classic professionals kind of like going with what the meta is, regardless of if the situation is good for it or not. Celt Cav Archers? You don't get Thumb Ring? You don't get Bracer? I don't even know if you get Heavy CA. Like, I cannot be convinced that it's actually a good play, but maybe he needs mobility. Certainly this army's not going to cut it. And here comes some knights. Here comes the CA. There's the TC from Hearttt. Daniel will be just passing through here to get to those skirms, but it will be Gebetto now for Hearttt. Now, I don't think Daniel's throwing. Daniel knows he's behind and he's trying to do something. And also didn't really have the resources for crossbow. So CA are kind of nice in that regard. They just have good base stats and they're mobile. And you don't have to invest like 400 resources or 300 resources into upgrading a slow unit. So I laughed at it, but honestly, I don't hate it. You need mobility. You can't get crossbow because it's slow. It is kind of weird, but now it's making sense to me. Siege push also wouldn't have worked because Hearttt played it perfectly into a castle, so it's pretty good. But is it going to be enough here? I'm not so sure. It certainly doesn't scale well. And scaling is the issue in this situation. I think Daniel having an issue with idols. I think he's sending idle villagers home or something. And they're just dying. A horrible, horrible way to die. I mean, this is probably the worst way to die, right? That or if your transport gets deleted when you're inside or something. It's the classic, would you rather drown or would you rather burn? I mean, both sound horrible. Again, I don't know where these vills are going, but I think his TC production is sending vills home. And his units are getting cooked. Tower goes up from Daniel. And Hearttt, as always, right? 3 town centers. Still has 10 fishing ships helping him right now. And Daniel's he has some issues here. I like the choice. Like, it's similar to game number 1. Like, I have no doubts on the strategy from Daniel. I've seen Celts here before. I think Man-at-Arms could just do so much. But it's just really impressive play from Hearttt. Every time to defend from the initial openings. Now, unlike the previous game, the res collected still very close. Heartt's missing some crucial eco upgrades. And the most important area of this map is actually this area right here. So if Daniel starts to get a bit of a mass going here, things could get interesting. Why are villagers coming this way? Stay over there. Stay over there. Stop leaving. That's where it's safe. Daniel doesn't notice. It must be a rally point. All of his TCs are sending eco here. Oh my goodness. But they're doing a lot right now, and Daniel just doesn't notice it. Hearttt knows he's about to be siege pushed here. Gebetto should be able to snipe the siege pretty quickly, but Gebetto also just get flattened by siege at the same time, so... In the low numbers, it's kind of risky for Hearttt. I think he needs all of his units together. Ah, that makes me so sad for Daniel. But I've been there so many times, and he'll never notice it because his mangonels are just going to get sniped by the Gebetto, and Hearttt with some great patience there. I think Daniel was maybe trying to retake water. That doesn't accomplish much. And I don't think Daniel's siege push will accomplish much more either. So maybe he'll just give up on that. I mean, you never look at this and think it's going to stop. You think the siege and the monks are going to keep coming. So maybe Hearttt... Oh my goodness! I hate this! For Daniel. Like, okay, now he'll notice. Because he's chill now. He's chill. He'll realize his rally point was screwed up. Yeah, Hearttt doesn't... He has good vision here, so he doesn't expect any more siege from this right now. Daniel needs something crazy. But what is that crazy? Cav archers. It's Cav archers, people. Yeah, see, the next Vil will know. Yeah, he fixed it. The big problem for Daniel now is he doesn't necessarily have a boom lead. And Heartt's unit is just so freaking good, man. It's great against Siege. It's great against Knights. It's even great against Cav archers. At least Celt Cav archers. And Heartt's economy is ridiculous. 4 town centers. Great map control. 2 relics. Guys, Heartt could do amazing things this season. I don't know how many games he's played on evac for this tournament, but I know he did a lot of training when he played Hidden Cup. And this was debuted in Hidden Cup, and you could just tell how comfortable he feels here. And yeah, Daniel's just probably like, what more do I have to do here? I've seen people tap out in these instances. Daniel's going to hold on. He knows how important these wins can be. Look how fast they destroy the houses. That's 7 units, man. This is before Arson. Now Arson's in. All those houses are going to go down. There are those Cav archers from Daniel. So he'll get to a decent enough number to maybe deal with the Gebetto. But Heartt's economy is good enough to switch into something else. Or just simply make more Gebetto, right? Let's see how many volleys it takes to take out the tower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so it's going to be like 18 volleys, which doesn't sound like it's very few, but it's just 5 units. Like, that's insane. Maybe I stopped counting because I'm lazy, but maybe that's like 12 or 13. That's crazy. 5 freaking units, man. And now a castle from Heartt, which will put an end to the potential of a siege push. And Heartt's on the way to Imp. Perfect game from Heartt. Yeah, I don't think Guard Tower changes a lot here. Like, obviously, it makes your towers stronger, but your towers are already going to kill the Gebetto if the Gebetto are in the right positions. Ballistics is nice. Because then at least you hit more shots. But it's just an overall control problem here. And to have to invest into this many towers takes you so far away from TCs. It takes you far away from all the things you might want to do. Heartt just kind of played the perfect game, guys. He's chilling. And Cav archers do have ballistics now. And Heartt's just going to fall back. So, in another matchup, I think that the Malian player would maybe drop stables here to go for Cav. But here, it's like, why do that when your Gebetto can get better and your opponent's Cav archers really can't? Did they get heavy CA? Huh. Okay, today I learned. I actually didn't know they got heavy Cav archer. Just, it's never been a situation where I've seen killed Cav archers. So, I think this will be a castle from Heartt. If this castle goes up, especially with Imp, I think Daniel will be forced to call it here. Heartt's just playing so good. Also, did I miss an announcement that Heartt joined Wonders? Which brought in a bunch of different players recently? I see the WR in front of his name. It doesn't stand for world record. Even though he might be setting a world record for evacuation here. That's pretty cool. So Heartt and Nikov back on the same team again, huh? That's pretty sick. Good to see that. And GG's called. Again, like, I normally when a player is going down 2 games, I have this feeling of, oh no, I'm worried for them in Titans League. I'm not actually worried for Daniel at all. I think Daniel's playing amazing. But Heartt's just playing insane. We still have that 3rd game. This 3rd game would be really nice for Daniel. You snag a win when Heartt's playing this good, and you feel like other players in the group are not going to. But yeah, Heartt adapted very well to everything. Just the amount of different areas he had to micro against his man-at-arms was crazy. And yet, he didn't end up losing a lot of ills. He ended up overtaking water. His castle age time was still solid. And I think something that Heartt maybe a year or 2 wouldn't have had in his gameplay is that castle there. That was the perfect opening to castle age. Now, You could argue that that's the most obvious thing to do against Celts because Celts are going to try and eat your TC. But still, the castle, Gebetto, everything was just so good for Hearttt. And yeah, KD shows it, but the economy was really king there. So let's see what ends up happening then with Daniel. This was actually Heartt's home map, so technically Daniel's best map is yet to come. But looking good for Mr. Peru so far. The thing about casting a Daniel tournament is he shows up to play, dude. There's like no waiting time in between games. They're already a minute into this one. So let's see if Daniel can get the job done. Obviously, down 2 games. The thing I say in TTL is you have to avoid being swept. If you get swept, you will have regrets. As other people might be able to snag a win against the opponent you lose to. So in this group, there's players similar to Daniel, like Dark and freaking Andy and Valis, who I'm just not completely sure on their form right now. And if those players, let's say that you all think that Hearttt will sweep them, imagine if Daniel gets that extra win right here, and so he goes for the Huns. So expect lots of army here. Lithuanians from Hearttt, I expect kind of the same. This is a pretty heavy scout map. There is also the swamp in the middle, which is definitely worth docking. So I think both players will dock and combine a little bit of water control with spears and scouts and all that to start. So, but it's play all 3. It's not a best of 3. Every win counts. You play everyone in your group in a play all 3, and then your wins count as your score to determine what happens after that. So it's a different format than other tournaments, and it leads to very fun situations near the tail end. Like right now, we look at the probabilities, and it doesn't really tell us much because it's super early, but it'll eventually get to a point where certain players are hoping for certain players to get wins and losses to help them out. And every single season, you look back and it's like let's say Daniel wins this because Hearttt has a hole in his wall, right? And then like come the final week, everything ends, and Hearttt needed one more win to maybe get like first place in the group or something and get a bye into the quarterfinals. Then he's going to be like, the freaking hole in my wall in that wood line against Daniel. You know, I don't know if that's how Heartt's brain will actually work, but in theory, it could always play out that way. Dubsky, the Dogal Winchester series was very good. Very solid. For those who missed it, that was at the start of the stream. And then we did a gold cast, so we did Slam and Sobek, which was also a really good cast. Yeah, really appreciate the support so far, though, guys. It's been fun. Above all, I just want people to be interested and like showing up and having a good time. But also, like, being close to 3K subs again's crazy, and just like, you know, the chatter, the hype around the community has been great. T90 leaked the script. Yeah, true. Imagine if Hearttt is a hole in his wood line now. The thing is, that's a pretty good prediction because this map is a struggle for wood. Heartt's lumber camp, though, is disgusting. It's so good. Look at that. That is snug. Daniel's is pretty good as well. And acacia trees have more wood, so you're not going to see the overchops there. You'll see the overchops once you get towards the middle. So the wood line's there. So lots of available golds and whatnot on this map. There's a total of 30,000 golds. And then clearly there's hunt and trees all along the map. So we'll see how the players play it. I doubt we'll see mills for additional hunt. Like, he'll push in so many deer. I like this from Daniel. You don't take these in Dark Age. You save them for feudal because it's just close to the mill you needed to build anyways. But Daniel's clearly just going to go all out here. He even skips the water, which is crazy. I think this will surprise Hearttt. I personally don't think this is very good. I think you immediately set yourself up at a disadvantage if you do this. You might be able to think like, well, it delays your feudal age time and it delays your scouts if you do that. Yes, but only just the first scout. Like, this is guaranteed. Even if Hearttt loses these fish, he's still going to have had a better situation in the early going, so. But it's a fixed mindset of aggression. It simplifies the game plan. And I think that's what Daniel needs right now. He's like, well, it hasn't been going good for me, so Let's just kill, kill, kill. We'll see if he can do it. Hobby Table says I went back to VODs because you were offline. Well, my stream dropped. So depending on when I went offline, that actually I came right back online. But what's up, Bed of Roses? Bed of Roses, there is not a time that I see you on this channel. You are not waiting for a 24-hour stream. Yet again, I am here to disappoint. There's no 24-hour stream announcement, but thank you. Thanks for continually being the person who requests that. So, I mean, even my fiance was like, it's time for a 24-hour stream. I even hear it at home. But times are a little too busy for me right now. But had some great times with 24 hours in the past. So Daniel's scouted around to assess where he can do some damage. You'll see the wood line. May find the berries, may find the deer here. And Daniel's walking back and forth. He's bringing spears to the middle. I was wondering why he was on gold. Him going to gold made me think he was going to go fire galleys. But he never had a dock, so it's kind of weird. He's going to poke the ships. Oh, he poked one. Let's go. That's one way to deal with the fishing ships. Just poke them down with spears. Probably won't happen again, though. Hearttt has the fire galley here now. And the fire should push most of that pressure away. Looks like Daniel didn't actually find some turkeys. And that's just because he was pushing so many deer. And now Daniel's aggressive. But these are Lithuanian spears. The Lithuanian spears are super speedy. Kind of interesting we see a range here from Hearttt. So Hearttt is not going for scouts, which I would have expected. I mean, earlier today, we saw what mobility could do in the hands of Hearttt. I feel like mobile units in the hands of Daniel could do similar things here. Now, Heartt's trying to position his villagers in a way. That's crazy, man. Like, positioned his vills in a way where he could fight back with vills. Do you see how that affected Daniel's confidence there? Against other players, Daniel goes in for the vill kill, but he just doesn't trust himself against Hearttt. And again, Hearttt fights back the weak scout. It's crazy. Hearttt snags horse collar. He'll add those farms. He still is actually adding fish in the middle. And 3 scouts from Daniel. Still hoping for some damage. He hasn't killed too much. It's just been the fishing ship. But Heartt's also not being very offensive, right? He doesn't have any type of counterattack to Daniel. So Daniel's going pretty smooth at home. There's just an expectation when you watch Hearttt play right now that he's going to get the job done. But the potential is still there for Daniel to get some kills here. Because Hearttt doesn't have any mobility on the map, really. And so Daniel kills a vill. I like everything Hearttt has done except the skirm opening. The skirm opening to me, and I'm sure because he's a beast, it's gonna end up looking good somehow. But trying to full wall this map and playing into skirms feels tricky. Very difficult to execute on, but he does have a lot of walls down. He's certainly got spears around in defense and offensively. And I guess if this gets to Daniel's base, Daniel won't have an easy answer to deal with this. And now Daniel's going to go for the walls. Yeah, so he sees that army. He knows it's a problem. So he'll get walls down quickly. And there's the army. Daniel actually slows it down a little bit, which is nice. Scout's still running around. There's spears everywhere, though. So if Daniel finds a weak vill, does he see that vill's weak? No. Just double checking, just passing, just thinking, just walling. Should get the walls down unless the vills block. Okay, walls go down. He's still got scouts. He's switching into some archers. But he won't get into Heartt's base. And Hearttt, he's over chopping now, so he'll need to wall up again. But he's still got a pretty large trash army here. But he just hasn't been able to break through into Daniel's base. Well played from Daniel. I think, like, if he doesn't get those walls down, he has much bigger problems. Ah, okay. And he's actually bringing his units to the middle now. Hearttt doesn't have the gold for more fires or a demo. But that's good from Daniel. Just keep Hearttt guessing. I think Daniel would have loved another Vil pick or two. And, oh, don't hold the gate open. No, you stupid villager. Oh, never mind. Okay, well. The spearman was enough to scare it away. Daniel didn't want to get trapped. Just lock the gate, Heartt. Locks the gate so the Vils won't take the deer. Daniel drops the market to balance out his eco, but just hasn't been able to get the damage done. And Heartt's collected 800 more resources. The fish has been largely uncontested, which has made life very easy. And I'm sure he viewed this and just thought, well, what's my issue in the mid game against the Huns? That would be Cav archers. And so having the additional skirms on the field already, assuming he can keep them alive, is going to be really nice against the potential CA here from Daniel. Just so smooth from Heartt. I think if this was game one, I think Daniel goes for a dock and he plays more adaptive play. But he didn't want to do the exact same thing as Heartt because Heartt is slightly out executing him, right? So I can understand where he's at as a player, having been there before. Heartt just makes it look super easy. Yeah, so it's definitely going to be heavy skirms. He still has 8 spears as well. So this could just be, I don't know, like boom and then pike skirm, I guess, for Heartt. Just full trash. And then we see the ranges for Daniel. Yeah, so Daniel will hope for like light cav and then 3 range CA. Which, another day against another player after another opening is insane with Huns. Like, if you could say you lose 0 Vils, you kill 2 eco from your opponent, and you'd be in Cast Age at the same time, going light cav and 3 range CA, you'd be like, yeah, that's sick. Sign me up. I want to do that. But Heartt just feels inevitable, dude. He's playing so good. Also on stone, which is interesting. Wasn't really expecting that. Is 800 resources that much? I mean, it is a lot. Like, I consider 1,000 more resources to be considerable. So at this point, what is that? 10% more? So 10% more at this level's insane. But it's also with the expectation that your opponent knows how to spend it. So, like, and that's something that Heartt's obviously going to do, right? So second TC immediately pops out with some knights and some upgrades here. And Daniel drops this TC. Daniel would love an engagement on this before these spears get piked. There's actually a chance Heartt throws an opportunity away here. I think Daniel has to engage against this. If the other spears get forward, you cannot fight this. But if it's just this group, you might be able to. Or you choose this group, one or the other. Heartt will try to defend this group. The spears are on the front. There's not a lot of CA there from Daniel. Daniel can't take gold, guys. It's just so brutal. The skirms are just all over it. And Heartt's got freaking 30 army, man. 30 army against 8. And Daniel's like, I can't fight this, so I need siege. And then he can't get siege because he doesn't have gold. And Daniel just chooses to tap out. This series was a stomp from Heartt. Well, no, unfair. First 2 games, very close. But it did feel like Heartt was a step up. And I think game number 3, it kind of affected Daniel's decision-making to not go for the dock. I think you almost have to compete somewhat for the water there. Even if you lose the water after you dock in the Dark Age, it still does benefit your eco nicely. So, Heartt wins 3-0. It's $40 per win. Not a bad day in the office for him. He looked very good. And there's expectations now for Heartt when he enters tournaments. And I kind of put those expectations on him with my prediction. I predicted that he and Viper would be fighting maybe for the first spot. And that's exactly what I feel after this. Having said that, I need to restate what I said after game 2. Like, Daniel played very good today. Daniel played very good today. I know the third game was maybe the least competitive game. Against other players, game 2, he has a lot more success. Against other players, game 1 goes a little bit differently. I really think that. So, I'm not too concerned about Daniel. I think it'll be tough for Daniel to survive because Titans League is just insane. Still feeling pretty good about Daniel's chances when he faces up against some of the other players in the group, which will happen next week. Other sets in this group, we've got Viper versus Dark. I think that's tomorrow. I forget the exact order. I think both the other sets are tomorrow. I think Viper Dark is tomorrow and Freaking Andy Valis is tomorrow. So we'll see what the rest of Group D has for us. Second round, like Daniel Andy, I think that'll be really close series. And then Daniel Dark, like these are sets where I think that Daniel can snag wins. I even think Daniel could snag wins against Viper, but I don't know what type of shape Viper's going to be in. I guess we'll find out tomorrow, right? I'm still thinking, I think when I predicted this, Viper first, Hearttt second for this group feels pretty reasonable. So, should be good stuff.